All right, we're going live right now and just going randomly live throughout the day, just see what happens. I do have some stuff to share with you guys. I'm going to share the PFF draft guide live and in the flesh. We'll go page to page as far as we can today. Just going to go on here and talk about it for a few minutes. Just wanted to hang out. I had some allergies come up from mowing, and I figured, man, these videos are starting to get rough. Let's just go live. Let's see what happens. So I'm just waiting for the chat to fill up before we dig in. If you hit this stream, make sure to hit that like button. Spreads the video out on the algorithm. Also, hit that subscribe button, especially. You play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, college recruiting, whatever, football, really. I'm going to be there for you. Hit that subscribe button. Support the channel that way. Best way to do so. And I'm just letting the chat fill up. Nobody knows I'm going live right now, so I expect it to be a slow fill up. I know people have commented before. They're surprised that so many people are not like viewing on some of the live streams, and it's because I do it randomly. But I'm waiting for it to fill up. If you got any questions or anything, drop it in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm making sure on my end that everything's going all right with the stream. And I'll give it a couple more minutes here just to make sure things are going good. But looks like it is. And I'm going to double check the window here for YouTube. Joining the stream here. Making sure you guys get on here right on time. I will say this. One thing I've noticed the difference between my stream and other fantasy streams, which I don't really watch other fantasy streams. I was just trying to check in to see how everybody's format was looking like, just to see how I was different. One thing, I'm more like a hangout. I'm more like, hey, I found something. Let's look at this. Where other fantasy football streams, it's more like a show. It's more like a live show with questions. I'm kind of like hanging out, answering your questions. And sometimes you guys teach me. And we just hang out. Sometimes I just play video games and shit. But honestly, I like that. I like my style. I like doing that. I'll keep it that way until something different. And I got one thing to share with you guys. It's pretty cool. Let me see where it's at. It's over here. Or I lost it. Oh, there it is. We have a new addition to the channel. A new addition to come to the team. I picked up a Ric Flair. I picked up the Ric Flair. I don't know if I'm going to keep him in package. I don't know if I'm going to release him out into the wild like the other figures. But I think he's going to fit well with John Cena back there. I think so. But I really want to showcase that. That was the reason for the stream. But 3 minutes in, I'm getting bored. Let's go over the draft guide. Anybody wants to look at any of the previous stuff, they can rewind. We'll add it to the stage here. And we're looking at the PFF draft guide here. It blows up kind of weird. It looks like a magazine. I apologize for that, even though I didn't create it. I pretty much just downloaded it. It's part of my subscription. So you're getting a free look at the draft guide. We'll probably do another stream here looking at it because I think it's 615 pages. It's a big document. But we'll go over the draft guide. Is there any other draft guides you want me to go over? Dynasty, Fantasy, whatever. I'll pick it up. We'll go over it live on the channel and get the stats you want. But let's dig in. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see free stuff like this, free looks. Oh, I zoomed in. Let's go on to the next page here. Boom. What's inside? Drake May. Drake May's what's inside there. Also, we got quarterbacks. I remember last year's draft guide, this time last year, it didn't have everybody in it. It just had, like, the main guys, and then they kept, like, updating it. So right now, all right, I like that table of contents for the wide receivers. Boom, table of contents for tight ends, offensive line, safeties. Let me know if you need me to stop anywhere. Quarterbacks. Look at that. Look at that picture right there. A lot of colors. Jaden Daniels. Is it in rankings? Jaden Daniels is their first guy. I'm just going to fast forward. Sam Hartman. So it's not in rankings. So Jane Daniels here. Things to note, what I'm seeing here. This is my first time looking at it. I just downloaded it and say, hey, I'm going to live stream with you guys. 6'4", 210. Click here for the PFF big board. We'll go over that one day too on live stream. Decision making, poise, accuracy. He's up there in the dots there to the left. Velocity's up there. Clean accuracy is good. Distance is good. Progressions is good. Looks like he's good on everything. Strengths, legitimate rushing threat. He has adequate arm talent for all 3 levels of the field. Has decent velocity. Weaknesses, just 1 season of high-level production. He needs to slide and avoid hits more often. Pocket presence is still work in progress. Very high sack rate. Processing speed. Ooh, that's a big one. Is that being offered to you? First off, I'm guessing it's PPR. I would hold on to Chase. I would want Chase unless you're looking to diversify and you're looking to get more. Okay, that was offered to you. I'd hold Chase unless I was looking to diversify, looking to get more. Like if my team's rebuilding and I need more pieces, I would hold on to Chase. I think it's getting close. I think when we look at this trade here in the next few weeks, value-wise, it's going to lean to Nabers and Odunze, though. I definitely do think that because Odunze's work, Odunze too, but Nabers and Odunze, they're working their way up the startup chart. It's very close. It's actually a good one. And also, is this Devi where these two are guaranteed, or is this draft pick wise where like you're hoping it falls? Because what if Odunze doesn't fall? And like, what if Odunze goes in a great spot and he gets drafted too high and you don't get him? Would it be Nabers and Odunze there? That'd be my question too. Like, if it's the picks that would get either of those players versus them, or is it Devi? 102 and 102 and a 1 QB. I mean 102, 103? 102, 103? 101 is for sure. All right. I'm cool with either. I think if you want to diversify on your team, I'm cool with making that trade. I think value-wise, I think you're going to surpass Jamar Chase if you look at it that way. I would do anything I could to get Jamar Chase. I think if my team's built and really good, I'm holding on to Jamar Chase as hard as I can. But if I'm middle of the road or worse, I'm going with the picks. If I'm good as golden right now, I'm going with Jamar Chase. That's how I would look at it. Like if I earned those picks, if I earned one of those picks, well, he didn't. The other guy. But if I'm good to go and my team's good, I want Jamar Chase because he's going to be on your team. He's going to be a solid asset for a long time. You already know that. You're already good. But if I'm middle of the road, if my team's weak, if my team's average or worse, I'm going with the picks. It's very situational with that because we're getting to the point where the rubber's meeting the road with these two guys, and you can go either way. Also, on top of that, when you look at Jamar Chase versus those two guys in a few weeks, the value is going to push towards the picks. Nabers and Odunze. Nabers is working his way up there. Odunze is too. They're going to fly up there. They for sure are. So look at it that way. Also, if you're in a league with a lot of liquidity, people are trading a lot, and they're moving around, you may want those picks too. There's a lot involved with that. I think if I'm tight and if I'm top 3 in my league, I'm going Jamar Chase. If I'm worse than that, or middle of the road or worse, for sure. Middle of the road or worse in my league. And I rank myself in my league, and I look at myself, I'm going with the picks. If not, I'm going Jamar Chase because if I'm not going to try and fix what's not broken. I'm not going to do that. My team's good. I got a stud piece here that's going to hold value. I know he's going to hold value. I know he's going to give me upside. Even with bad quarterback play last year, with the injuries, he still gave you some good games, even though it's hard. It's very hard on him. But still, I think of that. You want to see Bowers? We'll move to Bowers. I'll take requests, guys. I'm here for you guys. I'm not here for me. Let's move there. So it says PowerPoint presentation. I don't even have PowerPoint. All right, let's find a better way. It's got to be a better way, a better way, a better way. So let's move down here. We're in the 200s. Oh, this thing don't work too well. All right. We're in the offensive line. Where are we at here? Keon Coleman. Tight end's got to be right after wide receiver. Brock Bowers, there we are. There we are. Let's take a look at Brock Bowers. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you, Hunter, for the question as well. Moving on to Brock Bowers, 6'3", 243. Can't remember right if that's the combine numbers or not. But looking at what they got said about him, you may want to look at the advanced metrics, but I think it's multiple pages on him. So what they got here is strengths. I'll zoom in a little bit. Let me know if there's a part you really want to see here. So looking at their strengths, even and extensive snap experience between inline and slot ultimate chess piece as a pre-snap motion player, pound for pound, a powerful, reliable run blocker, great lead blocker, blocking ability in space is fundamentally sound. Weakness is a little stiff when it comes to cuts and his routes. Come to think of the tape, yeah, that makes sense. Route tree could be somewhat limited. I mean, yeah, but he's also tight end. Build up speed rather than twitched up explosive, but build up is fast. Nothing low on the dots. Lowest might be on his route tree. I'll take that for the tight end spot. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you're seeing anything here. I'm a sharer. I'm not just a guy that's trying to say, hey, I know everything. So if you see something, cool. We're here together. So looking at his PFF grades over the years, they got this on this data. 84.4 in 2023, 90 in 2022, 92.1 in 2021. Dropping snaps, slot snaps. Slot snaps were high in 2022. Receptions and targets. Everything's really checking out. Yards per catch. I need more of the bigger advanced metrics here. Stable metrics. Yards per route run. 98th percentile. Imagine that's in percentile. This is my first time looking at this. Receiving grade versus single coverage 89. This is a great chart here. This is a great chart here. Receiving grade versus zone coverage 99. Separation 64. Separation percentage versus single coverage 60. If you hear that noise in the background, that's my dogs. I got the dog door right there. This is kind of like our mud room, but we fixed it up to where like this side is kind of like a pseudo office. I have a weirdly built house. Everything's wide open. So yards per route run up there per tight ends, which makes sense. Going down here to advanced data. So route tree. I'm trying to figure out what's the metrics behind that. Oh, it's down there. But let's look at these. Drops, value 3. Average depth of target 6.5. Deep catches 3. Deep yards 98. Screen catches just 2. Screen yards, contested catches. Yards after the catch per reception 8.7. Not too bad for the tight end spot. ADOT 6.5. This is some sweet data here. 2023 route data. This is Brock Bowers. If you just joined, we're looking at him. So let's see here. Corner routes, 3 targets. Speed outs, screens, so short stuff. A lot of short stuff. A lot of his targets are going there. 102 yards on the speed outs, and screens got 66. 72 yards on ends. That's 4 targets. 5 on the outs. So from what I'm seeing here, which makes sense due to his speed and yards after the catch per reception, that the short stuff would work, and that's where I would spam him at. That would just make sense. The other stuff, And this goes with their prospect profile on him, right? They were talking about his route running and how his route tree was a little limited. It kind of goes in with that. I mean, it doesn't say that it's limited. It just says what they asked him to do, too. Because it's not like he said, hey, I can't do this. We're going to run speed outs and screens. That's not how that works. But looking at the numbers here, ratings are very high on the short stuff and the ability to get yards after the catch per reception. My Brock Bowers assessment is I don't like paying up for tight ends in rookie drafts. If the tight end hits, then I'm just willing to pay up for him more like the next year or the year after. That's really my assessment for the tight end position this year. It was like that with Kincaid last year. With Bowers, he costs more too. You got to look at that. That's what it says there, huh? That's what I'm reading there. But I've looked at it before. I'll do it. Let's look at his stuff here. I'm going to pull it up. Because, man, my memory, I haven't looked at him recently, it feels like. All right, let's fix that up. Sometimes, so this site doesn't act right. So you got to double up on that. Got to do that again. Doesn't matter what computer I'm on. Mac, Windows. They should just have them come up to the top. Receiving. Well, I do know sometimes in their magazines versus the data they have here on the tables, it will be different. I've noticed that combing through it because I'll collect it on spreadsheets. 8.6.5, 9.0, 8.88. How can I blow that up for you? How can I blow that up? It's right down there. I don't know how well you can see it. And then yards per round, 2.65, 2.37, 3.01. ADOT, yards after the catch per reception, 8.7. 9.3 is his best year. That's his freshman season. 522 yards after the catch. So low yak, low ADOT. And then that plays hand in hand with what we're seeing here with the low ADOT back here. Because we're seeing a lot of speed outs and screens out of him. And then the yak, you'd think it'd be a little higher. Let's look at the missed tackles for back then. Missed max. Missed tackles. Missed tackles forced 18, 15, and 11. Forced more missed tackles there. 56 receptions. Matches freshman season. 18 missed tackles versus 15 and 11. We're in the slot. 47% of the time, 59 and 46. So, yeah, you are reading that right. He's not getting pushed down the seams too much. That's what that's saying. And then looking at his ADOT and stuff. One thing to note with PFF, they'll pump out a draft guide, and then you go to their data and it'd be off a little bit. So you want to double check that whenever you buy that. But when you buy this, you get that as well. So just something to know. Here's some other stuff on Bowers. Pre-draft testing. We didn't get any of that. With how deep this wide receiver class is and how tight ends work, you may want to just fade him and buy him later. And if he hits, you know you're going to buy a tight end. You're just going to pay a lot. You're going to pay up for him. You're going to have to mortgage for him. You get a tight end, or you get him now. It really depends on how the board goes. I imagine we're going to get some other wide receivers that go behind him in ADP that you'll probably like. But it's kind of similar. He's better than Kincaid, but it's more like the first-round tight end scenario, though. Like, it usually takes him a few years to develop. Not always, like last year with Sam Laporta, but the strategy kind of had Sam Laporta falling to you because you weren't paying that first, and then that portion in the second round, Sam Laporta was there, and that was just luck, but that was also a deep tight end class. After him, you're really not pulling trigger on tight ends unless JT Sanders falls into a glorious spot. I don't know. Speaking of that guy, Theo Johnson, let's look at him. A guy that was getting talked about a lot during the combine, and some people were talking about him prior to the combine. And if there's a player you need me to pull up, let me know. I'll look him up for you guys. Just drop that in the chat. But we're going to the next Dynasty relevant player here on their list. I'm swallowing a lot weirdly because I mowed yesterday and my allergies are killing me. And then I took an allergy pill, which destroys me. Arm strength is big plus. Arm length is big plus when blocking. Size is big plus. Decent build up top speed. Built for inline play. I picked him up in Devy a few years ago in a lot of my deeper Devy leagues. And pretty much just reading the athleticism about him and just took the stab on him. Plus, he was going to Penn State. They produced tight ends. And I'm probably not looking to get more shares of them in Dynasty personally because I already have them. Functional athleticism, middle, route tree middle, competitive toughness up there, hands are up there. 3-year data, PFF grade here, 62, 70, 50. Those can be subjective. Yards per catch, 10, 16, 11. So we're getting downfield a little bit more in those catches. Slot snaps, 121, 93, and 124. Yards, 341, 328, and 212. Going down here. Drops 2. It's 23 advanced data there. Drop right, 5.6. Yards after the catch per reception, 5. Not a yak guy, really. Missed tackles, 2. If there's any of these numbers you're questioning, we can go back to PFF and look at those in their charts. Deep yards, 46. Screen yards, 122. Contested catches, 61. That's looking solid. When we look at the targets here, how many targets you get? There's 10, there's 15, 19, 21, 25, 25. I guess it's low, 27, 34 targets on the season. I'm going to go back and look at this. Let's see here. Player. Is that the right? Yep. Theo Johnson, Penn State. What are we looking at? Targets. 45 here. Like I said, you get the draft guide. They'll have numbers in here. I counted that. I was like, that's kind of off in my head. So 45 targets. So maybe not all of them were counted for the routes. Give them a mulligan for that. But now I'm going to double check them. Let's see. Double check this ADOT. 7.2. Average at 7.2. So it's in line with that. But looking at those from this round, 7.2, 13.1, 9.0, 8.8. So lowest ADOT of his career. He can get you a deeper ADOT. Average up at the target. Yards after the catch per reception. And a seam guy. The seam guy. Looking at those routes. See what that's showing us. Looking at it again, it's down here. 7 crossers. Hitches. Out, so they're keeping them on the outside on those. Some crossers and a little bit of corners. Pretty diversified. And then some short stuff down here. Speed outs and screens. All in all, solid. Solid, but you get down here. This is what we like. The vertical jump at 39.5 inches. Big time burst. That's what, like a 90-some percentile burst score. 40-yard dash, 4.57. Height and weight, solid. If you're looking for a cheaper tight end, I don't see him in mocks going in the second round of rookie drafts yet. If he goes to a team that's very promising, then yeah, he'll get that privilege from that team and that he'll shoot up the board. But a third-round pick is probably what you're spending on him. So if you want to go cheaper at tight end, that's a guy you want to look at. We'll move on. Here's JT Sanders, 6'4", 245. So in mocks right now or previously, he's going in the second round. People tend to be fading him a little bit more, seeing him go in the third round more often than not right now. Makes sense. Weaknesses, I wish he approached blocking with more violence. Still a bit clunky. True athlete. Moves like a giant wide receiver. A lot of his snaps came from inline. Blocking strength, they're down on him. PFF grade. Oh, anytime. If there's any players you guys like or want to know more about on this, let me know and I'll show them. PFF grade, we got a 75 and a 70. Snaps, 36, 368, 349. Slot snaps, 115 in 2022. So we see that. Again, if you're new, the ancillary noises, my dogs, they're getting the liberty to run around. One's at my feet right now. Hopefully she doesn't get startled or anything. Targets, 67 and 72. Yards, 682 and 613. Stable metrics. Receiving great. Did we go over this with Brock Bowers? Did we go over this part with Brock Bowers? You guys mind if I look and see if we did? I'm going to do that real quick. Oh, no. Do not do that. Do not do that. There he is. Stable. Here we go. Yards per route run, 90. Yeah, we did. We did cover this. Looking solid, though. Let's move on down a little bit. Where's JT at? JT Sanders. Back to him. So taking a look at JT Sanders here. Looking at his deep catches, we got 3. Deep yards, 38. Missed tackles, 4. Deep catches. Contested catches, a lot of them are contested. Of course, the tight end spot. A lot of crossers over the middle. That's what we're seeing in the targets. That's what we're seeing with JT Sanders. Again, if there's a player you want me to look at for you guys, just throw them up in the chat. I think we're going to go over to the wide receivers. 4.69 40-yard dash. That's something you want to pay attention to. That combined with him being 245. Wish he was a shade quicker, but it's not too bad. But let's go. Let's just go to the wide receivers. Let's see what's up with them. Wide receivers, Burton. Let's just start with Burton. Let's go to Franklin. This is the best way to look. Search the button. Odunze, let's do it. 153. There he is. Everything's looking good. Run after the catch, there's shade low on, but I don't know if you'd consider that low. Looks like better than average still. Let's see, a little slower to flip his hips on comeback routes, but nothing glaring. I want to take a look at that on tape. Not a lot of yards after the catch, but that is likely more due to ball placement and routes. Also, if you're getting deeper targets, that's another thing. Probably just looking at stats there. Hands are low in his release setup, which can make it easier for press defenders to get on his hands. Supersized Chris Olave. I've seen that on a few comps because of his ability to get downfield. Looking at the slot snaps here, 104 last year. Some more time in the slot here in 2023. And 2021, yards 1,600 and 1,100. Very productive wide receiver. Yards per catch, 17.8, 15.3. Yards per route run, 95. Receiving grade versus single coverage, 100. Receiving grade versus zone coverage, 90th percentile. Open target percentage, 61%. Separation versus single coverage, 60. This is probably the most, what I'm looking forward to the most is routes. You guys need me to zoom in or zoom out? We'll get to the routes in a second. Missed tackles 14, ADOT 15.5. I like that. That's where you compare him to Chris Olave. That's where that comp came to. Those deep targets, that deep ball city. Deep yards, 783, number 1 in the class. Deep catches, number 1 in the class. That looks solid. Drops, I'm not worried about that. Looking down here, let's see. Look at this. Go routes, hitch, crossing, out. Pretty diversified. Pretty diversified there. Corner routes, 7 targets, 59.2. Crossing, wide receiver grade. Screen. Batting 100% there. And the outs were looking good. They probably should have threw more slants to him. We're 100% there. We got that size and speed. They probably should have done that a little bit more. Posts are looking solid. That's what you probably want to see from a wide receiver when you look at data like this. Routes all over the place. Crossing, go, hitch, out. Screens all in double digits. Not just like the same 2. That's pretty good. That's pretty diversified. Also different areas of the field. If you look over here, I see hitch versus a corner post go. Looking solid. Athletic testing. Through the roof. Weight 212. 40-yard dash 4.45. You can't beat that. 3 count 688. I hear he's trying still at the combine to try to beat that. Hand size good. Arm length good. Shuttle was solid. So everything looking good. Pearsall. If there's another player you want me to throw up, let me know. Ricky Pearsall, very fascinating prospect here. What do they say he needs to improve on? Agility is a bit stiff for a player of his size. Was a decent vertical threat at the college level, but likely won't be based off straight line speed. They got him comped to Julian Edelman. He's been out of the league so long, it's hard for me to draw comps to him. Looking at the data here. Fair amount of snaps in the slot. Kind of like that. Yards per catch, 14.8, 19.7, 12.1. That's looking good. 89th percentile in yards per route ran. 98th percentile in receiving grade versus single coverage. Receiving grade versus zone coverage, 86th percentile. Things are looking good there. Here we go. Deep yards were good. Screens were good. In the hundies in some of these. This is where I'm interested at. 11 targets on crossing routes. Remember, this don't have all the targets in it. We've established that with some of the other players. I think it's missing a few. 7 on slants, 6 on outs. It's pretty diversified, though. 7 on hitches. Let's see. Height, 6'1", 189. 40-yard dash, 4.41. That's solid. Bench press, meh. 42-inch vert. That's outstanding. That is outstanding. 3-cone's pretty solid. Nobody's talking about his 3-cone. 6.4. I like that. 6.4 is pretty good on the 3-cone. That means he's got good short area quickness. He can move laterally very well. That also means it doesn't mean he will, but it means he's more capable of breaking off routes, moving laterally, adjusting. Good at running in a phone booth, per se. That's what that 3-cone tells me. Jalen Polk. If there's a player you want me to show, just let me know. If there's a wide receiver, that's where we're at, but I can also just write in their name. And I just downloaded this today, and I'm just sharing with you guys. I have not looked at it. What I'm seeing right now is my first look, too. And that added noise is my dog's. Shorter stride length. Short stride length doesn't yield a fast top gear. Rounds his routes more than true breaks. So he's drifty on the breaks, it says. Narrow base out of this stance makes it more challenging. Hands are low in the stance. Change of direction, flexibility, a little bit above average. Run after the catch, a little above average. Snaps, slot snaps. Fair amount of slot snaps there. Regular snaps, 504. Here's my other dog. Jeez, these dogs are just all over the place. Oh, we lost it. Let's get in there. There we are. We're back. Hey. This is my dog, Bo. He's a puppy. Say hi to Bo. He's hanging out. There's my other dog there. That's Scott Hall. No lie. Call him Holly. Scott Hall's getting a little jealous. And we got Kevin Nash. I think he's outside. They're 2 big Huskies I adopted. Receiving grade 93. Receiving grade versus single coverage, 93 yards per route ran. 84th percentile. Separation versus single coverage, 65th. 64 for open target. Receiving grade versus zone, 29. That's a very interesting thing to take note of. Very interesting. That's very low. Looking at some of the other stats here. Screen yards, 81. So not much screens, but we're getting deep, right? Average at the target, 13.8. That's what I know most, especially watching him on tape, and that's what I look at when I look at his stats here on PFF anyways. Deep catches, 14. This is what I've been looking at because this is where, like, you don't really catch the data out on this on PFF. This is very interesting data to look at. We'll zoom in on it a little bit more. Is that easier if you're watching on a phone? Probably easier. So we're looking at that. 10 targets on screens, 25 on hitches, 18 on crossing. It's looking solid right there on the outs. Very limited on the ends. Posts, not there. Slants. Speed outs, a little lacking on the short stuff. However, that tells me deep ball guy you want to push it downfield too. That's where I'm projecting him out to be. 40-yard dash, though, 4.52 at 2.03. So not too bad, but not great either. 37.5-inch vertical. That's my dog. 37.5-inch vertical. So he's jumping out of the building there almost. That's up there. That's above average on that. I don't know what the green line means. I don't know what that means, but it looks like it's good. But the broad jump looks good. Should have a good burst score. Should have a very good burst score there. Move on to our next player. Brendan Rice, come on down. Looking at him. See what they got to say about him. And we're looking here. Targets 76, 2, and 32. So we've seen an increase in targets over his career. Wasn't always, though, at USC. Slot snaps, 41 last year. Yards per catch, 17.6. Let's move on to here, though. If you want to look at his ADOT, 15.1, that means they can get it to him deep. They pushed it to him deep. He can run it deep. Deep yards, 352. Screens as well. Looking solid there. Let's see here. Looking at the routes he ran, I can tell you this. From watching him at the Senior Bowl practice, I wasn't there, but I clipped every single route. I'm going to say this. I think he can run a full route tree pretty easily. And he's a bigger guy, but he's very assertive getting in and out of his breaks. That's what I like about Brendan Rice. I think the NFL is going to like him, and I think the NFL is going to draft him up pretty good in day 2. And it really depends on landing spot from there. Hitch, 18 targets on hitches. That's the only spot where he has double-digit targets at. But hitches, that's a breaking route right there. If you see it right there, you break to the inside like a comeback, but on the inside. So, also go routes. So, the hitch and the go, that's kind of like fastball, change up. Or fastball, change up, however you want to look at that. Slants, we got 8. Crossers, we got 5. But a lot of hitches coming back on the route. 40-yard dash, 4.5 at 2:08. I mean, when I look at the tape, that looks like where he should be scored at. Vertical jump, 36.5. That looks solid to me. Looks good. Should have an okay middle of the range-ish burst score when you look at the broad jump and vertical jump together. I can pull that up if you want, but honestly, I think the broad jump's low, the vertical's high. We're going to have some burst there. The 40's solid. I think the production metrics is good on him to where I'm not too worried about that. From what we saw, I don't think anybody's drafting him. I'm not thinking anybody's drafting him. Let's take a look at this. Average depth of target, 11.7 ADOT. A lot of hitches. Let's just go through quick on him. No 40. Anais Smith. It took me forever to figure out his name. All right, I'm going to look for another player here. Nabers. We're going to pull up Nabers real quick. Malik Nabers. There he is. I want to see the weaknesses. It's right here. Hands are too low at the snap. You're saying that on a lot of guys. Could add even more nuanced manipulation in his routes. Relies on elite change of direction ability right now. Could attack the ball better in the air. Lets it come into his body too often. I'm going to look at that up. They got him comped to Antonio Brown. That makes sense now that I think about it. That makes sense. Can't hate on that. Moving on to the next. 241 snaps in the slot, 179. Yards per catch, 17.6 versus 14.1 and 14.8. So that went up a bit last year. We put the stamp on things, though, in 2023. We had a good year. Receiving grade versus single coverage, 100 percentile, 93rd percentile against zone. I think everything's looking good. Everything looking good and holding the trend with the class as well. Average depth of target, 12.2. We're in double digits here. I'd be worried if a prospect's under that and the yak's not super high. Yards after the catch per reception, 6.6, but we got a deeper at ADOT. So I'm fine with that. Going down here, let's see what routes we're going. Go routes, hitches, outs. Very similar to Odunze. Very similar. I like Malik Nabers. I have him as a generational prospect, a top-tier prospect. I think he is going to be a top guy in Dynasty soon. I think he's going to jump the shark in value and be super expensive. You can play that however you want with Malik Nabers, but I think Malik Nabers is going to just jump the shark in value in Dynasty Fantasy Football to the point where you love to have him on your team. You're building around wide receivers. It's good to have him. He's great. But also to the point where if you need that chip to cash out in and you got him, That's a good thing to have too. It's really how you play the game and how you want to. But I love Malik Nabers. I think he's going to be great this year. Pre-draft testing, we got nothing. Who's their next player? Odunze. We just covered him. Go over him again, but we're going to go over just the routes here because we just covered Nabers. Like I said, very similar as in the hitches, the goes, the outs, the crossing is a little bit more in offense. Just how he was used. Very similar. I'm going to look at Harrison Jr. now. Is he one of the few Marvins in this class? There he is. Sometimes a little too much arm extension to push off to create separation. Yak speed is adequate but not elite. Taller Devontae Adams. That makes sense. I've also seen like CeeDee Lamb. All right, so you got Garrett Wilson and Nabers for CeeDee Lamb. I think that's good. I think that's solid. I think Wilson and Nabers you're going to have for a long time. Nabers' value is going to push towards CeeDee Lamb, like closer. How much? We'll see. I don't control the market. I try to guess it. But I do know it's going to go up. It's going to go up in startup draft ADP. I can almost guarantee you that because we see it with these rookies all the time, especially these top-end rookies. Even with them being valued kind of high, he's still going to go up a little bit. Maybe jump a couple more players. We'd have to cover that, see how high we think he'd go. But he's going to be up there. And then that with the Garrett Wilson, with the Wilson on top, that's just money. So on value-wise alone, I think you cashed out on a good spot. Nabers are going to have a good chip for a long time as well. So I think you did well on that. So here, let's look at this one too. So Marvin Harrison Jr. here, receiving grade versus single coverage 100, 91 receiving grade on zone coverage, yards per route ran 98th percentile. This is all percentiles, I believe. Values represent percentile rank. Yep. Again, this is my first time looking at all this. So what you see here is what I'm seeing for the first time as well. So 98th percentile on yards per route ran, receiving grade versus single coverage 100, receiving grade versus zone coverage 91st percentile. I think that's all solid. I think that's all real good. Advanced stats for Marvin Harrison Jr. Missed tackles 5, averaged at the target 13.1. So we're getting the deep balls. Deep catches 15, deep yards 598, screens not overloaded on that. Again, goes, hitches, outs. Very comparable numbers to Odunze and Malik Nabers when you look at those. A lot of slants. Definitely see that happening with them. Speed outs and screens, we're not living on that. Because you shouldn't. You have a wide receiver here that breaks off routes crispy. So you're not going to live off that. But looking at him, everything checks out. What's really low here on the outs? The out routes here. 26.5. 6 receptions on 14. This is from Pro Football Focus. This is their draft guide. So really I'm bouncing around. I downloaded the draft guide right before I loaded up this live stream. And this is my first look at it. And really just going over the stats and numbers. So I might, if I download more draft guides and stuff. There's my dog. I'll cover that more as well with you guys. But yeah, it's PFF's draft guide. So just going over the players, there's a ton to it. Athletic testing, we don't have anything, as we know. 6'3", 209, arm length's good. Hand size, I consider that all right. Xavier Legette, I think this one's an interesting one here. Weaknesses, not much variance in his release, footwork off the line. Route tree is limited, but feels like he can diversify it. Saw that at the Senior Bowl. He can break off routes. That's one thing you can see, but he wasn't really asked to do that. So that's something that he might lean into more at the NFL level to pay attention to see how quick he can develop. But from gauging him at the Senior Bowl, it looks like he can break off more routes than what he was asked to do. Slot snaps, 141 in 2023, so that increased. Receiving grade versus single coverage, 98th percentile. Yards per out ran, 93rd percentile. All the open target, 69, 68. That's pretty high compared to the field here in this class. ADOT's good. Deep catch is good. Yards after catch per reception, 6.4. That's looking solid. Screen yards is looking good. Look at this, though. A lot of hitches. A lot of crossers. You get a guy going that big and that fast, you're going to throw him a lot of stuff that's advantageous for him. Working the boundaries, too. On the outs. Where are we at on comebacks? Don't have a comeback, do they? They might be calling hitches and comebacks the same thing. But a lot of boundary stuff on the outs. Post limited, slants not many. Speed outs, nah. Screens, of course. Crossing on the inside. And that 40-yard dash, though. 4.39 40-yard dash. 221 pounds. Like I said about Xavier Legette, like if he did not kill the combine, it would have been a big deal. It would have been a huge deal if he didn't, because I would have not touched him any way, shape, or form. Like I was expecting these numbers, but since I was expecting these numbers, I needed these numbers. Considering what they said and what I thought. This lines up with what I thought. Right here, needing to diversify the route tree. Do they have route tree here? Route running is fine. I thought it was fine when looking at him doing different things at the Senior Bowl. Footwork release is a little bit above average, but considering he needs to diversify his route running and he wasn't asked to do that in college, I needed these numbers to look like this. He looks like a guy that could be sneaky in the second round, latter part of the second round of rookie drafts. If you're still looking at wide receivers to hammer and you want something sneaky, this could be a guy. Situation will matter. Quarterback will matter. His development will also matter as well. But still, could be a sneaky play. Lad McConkey, come on down. We're going to look at old Lad here. Last 3 years of data here. Slot snaps, not that many. We're not in the hundreds. We had an injury in 2023, slowed him down. Targets 37, 82, and 39. Yards per catch, there you are. Yards per out runs okay. For single coverage, 85 and 89. I mean, it's not bad, but it's also lagging against the top end of the field from what we've looked at already. If you want to look at that, but it's not bad either. You can still be productive off that. There's no red flag there. At ADOT, 12.2. Yards after the catch per reception, 6.3. The ADOT here, I like that. That means you can get balls pushed to you. That's good for fantasy. Really depends on the situation. Looking at his route data, remember he was injured this year and played through it a bit. Hitches, that's 6. That's his most. And screens. Screens is one of his most as well. Posts, not many slants. Outs, hitches, outs, ends. Some crossers, no corners. So his route variations are all over the place. But remember, he had some time out as well. The 4.39 40-yard dash. I didn't see anybody calling for that. I didn't see anybody saying, hey, this guy was going to run a 4.39. Did not see that at all. 36-inch vertical. I like to see him go somewhere with a good quarterback and high-volume offense. I feel like that's very necessary for him. I feel like that is, like you say that for every wide receiver, but like a Odunze or Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison Jr., some of the other guys who are more ancillary, they can get by with lesser quarterback play. I feel like you need to be peppered a bit. I feel like that. Jalen McMillan, good route runner. Yards per route, 89. That's solid. He's good against zone. If you remember Polk, he was not. So, good variation. Single coverage, 72. So, sneaky. He's a sneaky guy. You don't catch him third, fourth round of rookie drafts. ADOT 9.6. Had some injuries baked in on him. Outs, screens. Combine testing is sneaky here. Sneaky as in 37-inch verts, good broad jump, a very good burst score. 40-yard dash, 4.47. That's still fast. That's still cooking. And then it's like, I don't know how best to describe it. Slow enough to where it can sneak up under you because everybody else in the class was running in the 4.3s, low 4.4s. And a guy posting up 198 pounds, 4.47, and looking at the burst 37-inch, a tremendous broad jump, a good burst score there. You got to say that's some sneaky athleticism for the class. Good route runner. A lot of people like his game. I know Matt Waldman said some good stuff. Good at selling his routes. I know people have been talking him up for years too. Draft community definitely likes him. I'll be right back. I'm going to check something real quick. All right, I'm back. My dog was chewing on something. I just want to see what it was. A.D. Mitchell, though, coming up here. Take a look at him. I like looking at the weaknesses. A lot of the strengths stuff we already know. Looking at him, the shoulder dip to avoid contact in his route is good, but needs to be more willing to chop defenders. Could do a better job at attacking the ball in the air. His body language and effort can be very different when he's a primary receiver versus not. T. Higgins, interesting comp. How do you feel about that? Interesting comp. Didn't even think of that. I don't like to do comps because they're kind of weird. Run after the catch, yak, they got him kind of low. Something to note right there. Their data, some of this is just basic stats, though. 94 slot snaps, yards 84, 845, 134, yards per catch 15.4. Good receiving grade versus single coverage. Yards per route run, 70th percentile. Receiving grade versus zone, 49th percentile. That's interesting to me. That's very interesting. This is a very interesting graph in percentiles. This is a very interesting one. I don't know. There's something there that feels a little fishy. The lower yards per route, which is fine. But the receiving grade here, the versus single coverage is fine. Like, I'm not hating on him, but I'm just looking at the chart and be like, there's something there. ADOT's good. It should be good. We got speed. Get deep targets. 302 deep yards. Screen yards solid. Look at the route tree, though. A lot of variations. So deep ball, hitches, probably comebacks built in, ins, outs, slants, tall, lanky, speed. You better be hitting the slants on him. You got the outs and you got the ins, the hitches, fastball, changeup. What I mean there's you show deep, you break it back, change it up on that cornerback. I like that. I like that part of his game where he's shown some versatility. 40-yard dash. We We covered this about 4.34. Vertical jump around 40 inches. Testing out of the building. Testing is on fire, I'll say that much. Looking good there. Broad jump, solid. Burst score, 90-some percentile. Guarantee it's in the 90s. Guarantee you that. His burst score is in the 90th-some percentile. Moving down here. Back to Malik Nabers. We covered him. Do you guys need me to go back over him? I'll come back up. Odunze, right? Or is it someone else? We covered Pearsall. We've been jumping around this. See here, it's about 6:41. We're an hour in. I think I'm going to jump off the stream here, and I'll do another one. And next time we'll cover more wide receivers. We'll do more running backs. And, yeah, it was fun. We'll cover more of this. And then once we get through this draft guide some more, I'll do it maybe next couple days or so. I'll do another draft guide. I'll find another one. We'll go over that data as well. I'll just keep buying draft guides off the internet or whatever, and we'll go over the stats and metrics. So make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Hit that like button. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.